Hello, I'm Allie.
I'm Deb.
Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Stilettos.
If you have been tuning in to our new vibe with Coffee and Stilettos, I'm Allie with Deb, and today, with just about 2 months left, actually 2 months today, we have uh, the rest of the year to really go after those goals, to get after whatever we really want. And that takes a lot of grit, a lot of courage, and a little bit of productivity. So, we want to talk today about our biggest productivity tips that we use, and they're both a little bit different. I know for myself, as someone who teaches into like energy and getting into the flow, it 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 has been life changing for myself and my clients to get into these little nuances that we're going to share with you today. Deb has fabulous insights, especially when it comes into the mindset of work, how to reduce some stress by having planning and owning your day the way that you want to. So, we're going to cover just how to prioritize tasks. How do you time manage those? And at the end of the day, how do you create these blocks in your life? So, Deb, I'm curious, how do you really get into prioritizing your day and the tasks that you have to do?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about three different ones today. And the first one is the Eisenhower Matrix. And this is known as the urgent, important matrix. So really prioritizing your tasks, whether they're urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, something you can delegate, or something that you can just eliminate. And I think for me, this is something that I like to do. There's obviously tasks that you need to do every day as a business owner, every day as a parent. So how do you time manage those? I like to prioritize the things that are the most important, and I tend to focus on those tasks first. What about you?
I usually ask myself, what is one thing that I have to get done today that's really important? And sometimes booking the appointments or taking the dog out, like they're important. Though, what is going to move the needle for my business? What is going to move the needle for things that I could do? And when I ask myself that question, what is the one thing that I can do today? It makes a huge shift on me prioritizing and kind of sifting out the everyday nuances. Because when we talk about blocking time, I'll share with you my tips on how I fit in those all those extra things, because they do become overwhelming.
It
Though
can
when I
be.
ask myself, what is the one thing that I can do today that will support my business and the goals that I have to do, my brain is starts searching for the more important things that have to be done. So that's what I do every morning, in addition to say, what will bring me joy? What will
I
bring
like
me
that.
some happiness? Because when I talk about human design and energy, if you're a manifestor generator, that joy piece is going to give you that extra oomph in your day to have more energy throughout it.
I love that. So let me ask you, and I do believe in doing something that brings you joy every day. And I think there's always work tasks that bring me joy. I love being creative, like that sparks joy in me, and in like creating presentations, creating anything creative for me brings me joy. But let me ask you a question on what if it's if it's a task that isn't going to be done necessarily in one day? How would you prioritize that into your day?
So there's always going to be little milestones that you can break up. So if we take a big project, like you have a new strategic partner that you're working with or working on a big client deal, there's always little bits that you can break up. So you have milestones to get you there. So it could be first creating the outline. When Deb and I are planning these episodes, we could be overwhelmed with like the whole season, or we start saying, okay, what are some ideas that we want to start putting together? Then the next week we could start researching them. So breaking everything up into little milestones that will get you to where you want to be. So what is the one thing that you could do today to get you closer to that bigger goal that you want? And your mind will start shifting into what you need to do.
I love that. And I do try and break things down, like especially big things like a giant presentation that can seem overwhelming. But if you
Mhm.
break it down into, okay, I'm going to do a quarter of it today, a quarter of it tomorrow, a quarter of it the next day, it doesn't seem so big in the moment. So I love that tip. That's a great tip. How about the Pomodoro Technique? This is a time management method that helps you maintain focus and productivity by breaking your work into intervals. So 25 minutes of focus on one specific task and then taking a short break after. Is that something that you utilize now? It's not, I find if I'm really focused on a task, I just go for it. And then, I wouldn't say I set a timer by any means, but I do incorporate breaks. I think they're very important, especially to, rejuvenate that creative flow and those creative juices.
Yeah, it's a great question that everyone asks me, especially when I coach into flow, because we're going to go into flow block. That takes a time amount that you can contribute to the work that you're doing. Sometimes you might only have that 25 minutes in your day to finish that next little leg, or you have a bigger flow block, which could be maybe a couple hours. If you're struggling with focus, I find that this is a perfect technique to use. Actually, my stepson has a bit of ADHD, and I know a lot of people struggle with like the mind and how it works and
Mhm.
how you can go for it. And I taught him this technique of doing shorter bursts of really focused energy for his studying, for his learning, for his labs that he's doing. And same with some other clients that had just seemed to be all over the place and unable to focus on one thing because their mind have been multitasking for so long with the phones, emails, blips here, children calling. This is happening. It's very overwhelming and it's real. This is real
So
life and we
true.
can't escape it. So this technique I find can work really well when you're training your focus. So if you haven't had the opportunity, and they say the average knowledge worker only works 11 minutes in these flow blocks a
Oh,
day.
wow.
11 minutes.
That's
That's
crazy.
even 25 minutes. So that's how short our attention span as a collective has been. So if you're starting, I think this is a perfect place just to give it a shot. Put it on for size, put it in 25 minutes. And like we talked before, put a little milestone that you want to accomplish. And when you have that break, honor that break with rest, recovery, anything that is not going to your phone, more technology, because you're just keeping your mind active and it's going to tire out. So I think this technique can work really well, especially if you're starting or if you want to gamify things. I think having fun, again, we mentioned it before, having fun. So if you have mundane tasks, I find kind of like data entry, sometimes like inputting finance things or emails sometimes can be very like mundane. Making a 25-minute sprint, this it's a perfect opportunity if you have those items that just seem like monotonous. Make it fun, see how much you can get done in 25 minutes, and then honor yourself with a break.
I love that. I think that's fantastic advice. And it's so true. Like with all the alerts on your phones, and like even today I was working away and my son called me and asked me to make him a grilled cheese sandwich, and
Of course.
all those you're right, life happens, right? So yeah, I like that idea of just taking short bursts, and it's not something that I really do myself. I just sometimes just dive in. And then even sometimes when I'm in something, it's like it sparks a new idea, and it's like then you want to start working on that. So I love the focus part of just taking 25 minutes to focus on one specific task, and I think you'll generate a lot of productivity that way for sure. One thing I do like to employ in my life is time blocking. So
Mm.
creating a schedule on and when I say time blocking, I mean like getting up in the morning, doing my meditation, fitting my exercise in, walking my dog, and then taking certain times of the day to make sure if it's a day for social media, content creation, or whether it's a specific task I'm working on, I really do like to employ this method. Does it mean that I always follow it? No. Sometimes life just happens. So it is something I use, and I really love it. Is this something that you employ as well?
I would say at least one flow block a day is a goal. And when I ask myself what is the one thing that I want to do today, that would be part of my morning kind of rituals, routines. And I want to create that focus time, because that's where a lot of that, like 80/20 rule. 20% of my time is going to present 80% of what I can actually get done. And by guarding that time, it allows you to take out some of the noise as well. If you're blocking in time for you, people aren't going to block it for you. So if you have a lot of meetings or clients are important, meetings can be important, maybe not, depends on who they're with. I know that some of them just could be deleted. Anyway, it's not the point. Clients I get are important. However, you servicing your business is also important. You servicing
Absolutely.
your projects is also important. So I find that's honoring you and your time by having specific blocks, and then allowing maybe some of the rest of the day to flow, because again, life happens. And you mentioned morning routines. Like, I have in my calendar kind of like my magic morning as a time frame with things that I enjoy getting accomplished. I do caution though, for myself, sometimes I have held that into the highest regard, that if I don't get everything done, then it's not accomplished. So that's something I've had to play with my energy, is recognizing that it's a time that I want to honor, and how I use it is dependent on kind of the vibe or the season that I'm in. So I've let it be a little bit more loosey-goosey than I used to, because I used to be very specific, because I don't want to let myself down that early in the morning. So I have a very few specific goals for those mornings and those evening, and I let the rest of it flow, because I want to set the tone for the day. So when you said that you have time blocking, is there certain things that you want specifically, or how do
I think
you?
I think it all comes down to, for me, the self-care component. And I think that's important for everybody to recognize as well. You can have everything in your time blocking, but like you said, being a little flexible, because life does happen, and it might not happen. But if I got, my meditation in, and maybe I didn't exercise, but I walked the dog instead, that's still exercise. I'm still getting something in, but maybe not to the degree that I would like. And not holding myself to such high expectation that I have to meet everything on my list. So if I didn't get 25 minutes, like we talked about, but I got 10 minutes, and I did some of my social media, but didn't necessarily get it to the degree that I wanted, just to have some self-compassion there too. Because I think as long as I'm putting forth my best effort in any given day, and I'm doing 1% maybe better than yesterday, or just like we've talked about, life events happen. Things pop up out of the blue that you wouldn't expect. My dog had to go to the vet, like those things are beyond your control. And as much as you maybe have your schedule set, and it's going to throw you out of wonkers, that's okay. Like, just, put one foot in front of the other. I think there's always this high expectation that you see those people that are doing great things, and we're all aiming to be great and do great things, but everybody has their day. So it might not be every day. So as long as your expectation or your intent is to do your best, I think sometimes that's good enough.
And if in doubt, just hit that like magic reset button. As soon as your head hits the pillow, the next day, just remember, it's another
That's right.
reset. It's another day. It's another opportunity, because these are tips. Everything's a practice. So if you're a perfectionist, or if you like things just so all the time, have self-compassion. Remember, you can reset. Commitment is a renewable resource.
Love
And
it.
at any point, you can just do a little bit of a reset, recalibrate. And if something isn't working, or you heard something, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to do that, and it totally flopped, it didn't feel aligned, leave it. Maybe there's another way or another suggestion. It got you thinking in a different direction to be a little bit more productive, as well as manage your energy. See how it feels.
I love that. And I think the important thing is trying different things to find out your own rhythm and find out what works for you, setting your own personal boundaries and having, like we said, self-compassion will get you on the road that you need to go. So find your flow state, what works for you. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Coffee and Stilettos. We will be back next Thursday where we will be talking about conflict resolution. So please join us next Thursday for another episode of Coffee and Stilettos. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please share with your friends and rate and recommend on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. There will be links to more great resources in the description.